Okay, hello everyone, and welcome to our first video interview with one of our members. This is John Scarr. He is the engagement manager for DWH based in Wakefield. John, thanks very much for joining me here for this little impromptu have a chat moment with our brews.
Yep, no problem at all, my pleasure.
So John, I asked John to join me here for a quick chat because John's been really prolific on a new network that TPAS have just created on Workplace for just to connect up engagement professionals up across the country. So John, thank you very much for getting involved in that.
That's fine.
So first of all, John really just wanted to know from an engagement professional's point of view, how are things going? How are you feeling right now?
Yeah, I think it's something that's been a little bit of a shock for everyone. I think we sort of knew that momentum we're building, and I think we knew that working from home was something which were on the cards. And then I suppose everyone's organisations have pressed that button, and then next day you wake up and you're not going into work. So I think that's the first sort of shock that you get. But I think at the same time, I think quite a lot of it's been quite positive for me. I think probably a large proportion of my working arrangements I'm quite enjoying. There's just that sort of like slightly childish moment where you think, well, I'm at work, but I'm still sat on the sofa, I'm at work, but I've still got my dressing gown on, a cup of tea, but I'm in touch with all my team. So I think it's ups and downs really. Because you're kind of self-isolating. You're there in your own house. You can't really go anywhere apart from for a little walk, and you're working. So I think some of the things that we've been told are kind of around the importance of having a routine. So for me, there's a stop time, there's a start time, and my stop time's accompanied by a task. I have a daily task, so whether I go out and mow the lawn, whether I tidy up a room or something like that, just to ensure that those sort of lines are still there, and you're not kind of wandering off at sort of strange tangents really in terms of how you organise your time.
And can you give me a bit of context to, you mentioned about your teams and things. What's your structure there at DWH?
The structure that I've currently got is I have the central arm of our engagement activities. The more localised, geographically based one are under our neighbourhoods area teams. And then I also look after customer insight. So my kind of little sort of nuclear team is central engagement and insight. So because I have that management responsibility for the closer team, we've relied very heavily on Microsoft Teams to ensure that we have that contact. Most of us have got the day-to-day businesses run through Citrix, so we've got that connection with everything in the workplace. In terms of the wider team, I've just touched base with them again, just using Teams, just using the chat element, just to find out. I mean, there are currently 4 of them, so they're sort of shared, they're sort of spread out district wide, and just seeing, because they have most of the ongoing contact with our customers, just really to find out what that's feeling like, what our customers are feeling really, what their sort of experience of all this is.
And then and that's, I guess, really immediately your roles changed a little bit over the last few days, has it? Or are you still kind of in your own kind of specialist area?
Yeah, I mean, where we're at, we're not able to fulfil the full range of duties because, I mean, we plan annually. We have an annual roadshow, as we call it, where we know where we're going at any particular given time. We plan who we're going to contact, when, what other activities will be part of those events that we'll attend. And so kind of 12 months in advance, usually we know where we are. Such a lot of that is face to face, so that is obviously not happening. So where that leaves us is basically waiting to see where gaps need to be filled. I've had a conversation with one of our managers this afternoon about the research element of what we do. Because that covers quite a bit of the communication we put out to tenants as an organisation. And we also, we in terms of research, we cover the if there are satisfaction surveys. So there's an ongoing adaptation satisfaction survey to ensure that customers are happy with the work that as an organisation WDH has carried out. And obviously we want those costs to be done outside the team that carried out the work. So that's something one of my team members will pick up. Another element of what's going on that we probably wouldn't have got to without these circumstances is trying to build up a pool or a bank of people that we can rely on a task and finish basis when we need to consult. So she's got a list of about 75 people, and I think from feedback I've had so far, where usually people are too busy to talk, you can't get them off phone, because they're quite happy to talk about absolutely everything because they're self-isolating. So there are quite long conversations to be had there. So that's not going to be the limit of it. I think as potentially this problem starts to bite, there's no real restriction on which team we might be required to support, but it's better than being stood down.
No, no. That's really interesting that you should say that about, yeah, have time to have you brew that, John. It's really interesting that you'd say that about, you know, having this bank of tenants and residents that can have more deeper conversations with you, because our fear was that engagement could have slipped down the agenda, and it would be more about comms, you know, crisis comms. But it's great that you have that opportunity really to really get to the nuts and bolts of some of the other kind of service design with residents that might have more time on the hands.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, I think we've got quite a long established
Oh, John.
established panels or groups of tenants. We're probably talking about 20 years ago. So that model for us is it's changed, it's been updated, but I think a lot of people that are involved love being involved and have been for a long time. And I think it's great that you can rely on that sort of commitment, but I think we've also come to the same conclusion that a lot of other organisations have now, that we also need to reach outside that, because I think the formality of those groups is sometimes enough to put good people off. Whereas if we can say we're holding a session, it's 10 minutes walk from where you are maximum. Will you come along? You know, we make sure we avoid school times. Give us an hour, and we'll talk about a new policy. We'll talk about a new procedure. We'll talk about something we're reviewing. And that way, hopefully, we sort of capture that group of people too. It's very much an embryonic thing for us. We really just sort of starting to think how we want that to look in terms of engagement proper. But as an organisation, I understand it's a method that's been used for quite a while now. So we're quite accomplished at that.
Yeah, that's, and I think on you talked about on the network about applying some of the lessons that you learned with dealing with the floods, which is another, you know, crises that was happening locally, and obviously this is globally. But can you talk through anything that you've learned through handling that? Because that's a bit of a unique experience that maybe some of the lessons you've learned you can pass on to other people.
It's an interesting one, is this, because I've experience of that on two occasions, and in both instances we were talking about heavy snow. Unfortunately, in the second instance, I broke a leg as a result, so my colleague did all that. So yeah, fun and games there. I think what we did, and probably what we would do if we had to today. I mean, we keep detailed information regarding tenants' vulnerabilities, and obviously contact information is up to date.
Yeah, and a lot of
So,
organisations are going through that, aren't they, at the moment, where they're trying to get that data, so you were ahead there.
yeah, and so that's I think that's your starting point. And in the first instance, we sort of did a lot of telephone contact. I understand that the second, there were quite a few people who had a physical presence on the States, but one of my colleagues fell and sustained an injury, and that's not something which has been repeated in that form. I think it were it was really a matter of reassurance, and I think reassurance. I've just made a comment on Cheryl Lee's picture regarding the sort of spraying at Hull, where the spraying the flats with disinfectant, and to see a friendly face, to be reassured that actually you're not expected to occupy your space, whether that be a block of flats, a street, whatever, and people are just not going to come there. The fact that people are there, that visible presence, I think, is, if you can safely do that, then I think that sort of says a lot to your tenants. But I suppose we fit quite heavily into our service continuity plan. If there are problems which mean an office can't be occupied, because we have access to a mobile exhibition unit, basically a converted van, so we can set up on a pop-up basis. So if for whatever reason an office is not accessible, then we can still go there and provide a point of contact for members of the public and tenants. Obviously, this is completely different, and we're wanting to not maintain contact, certainly not physical.
Yeah.
So I think a lot of it is kind of telephone, it's digital. Our tenant survey that's been recently, the tenant satisfaction survey that we completed recently, tells us how many people are wanting to engage with us digitally and do business online digitally. But what it's also told us is how much people value telephone contact too. So I know it's a slightly older method, but even those that are active digitally appreciate a phone call and appreciate being able to to actually get on the phone and hear a human voice when things are maybe not going quite so well.
Yeah, no, definitely. Definitely you can't underestimate the phone call at this point, can you really? I know everyone's charging on with the video conferencing, but sometimes it's nice just to relax and know that your face isn't being scrutinized, is it? So yeah, it's a very good point, that, John. So what does the next couple of weeks look like for you and your team and your role?
I think we've sort of been through the kind of lounging around phase. We've been through chocolate eating phase, and sort of excessive snacking. And I think for me personally, and I've not had anything contrary from team members, I think we're beginning to sort of settle into a system. We have a program of team meetings now. We're relying on Teams for things more and more, but we are still emailing and telephoning. So I think it's the first thing is making sure that everybody has the right kit, and we've had to purchase a number of laptops to make sure everyone can actually get onto Citrix, because I mean, myself included, not all the kit does everything that I would want it to. So it's making sure that really everyone's got the digital interface to be able to do work towards business as usual. It's, I think, making an assessment of everything we've got and how much of it we can get done. I think one of the questions you asked, and I think the answer seemed to disappear and then come back again, were about our foundation grant scheme. And we found that we could share the forms for applications. We found that we could have the meeting and discuss whether or not they would go onto our panel to be approved or otherwise. But where we sort of fell is that a lot of providers need a check, and we don't, or we're not going to have the facility to actually get checks signed. So I think it's finding out where we're going to hit a stumbling block and when we're going to get around it. In some instances where we can't, but then where we've got gaps in the time because we're not able to complete business as usual, then we have those opportunities to support other teams who find that that they're perhaps struggling.
Yeah.
In the world of engagement and the sort of like the customer contact, it sounds like our tenant involvement officers are actually keeping really busy, getting in touch with established groups, and I just sort of said, how are you doing? What are you doing? How are you doing it? And it looks like every communication method in the book, apart from face-to-face, seems to be being used. So actually, I wonder whether they wanted to support, but most of them come back and said, is there anything that you can, that you need from us? If there's anything you want, let us know. So that they're obviously out in field and quite comfortable where they are. So I think a lot of our engagement business, subject to limits we're all facing, is going to continue. It's the sort of central planned part of it that's unfortunately taking a bit of a knock.
Yeah, yeah, that's really interesting. What about your residents? You know, you mentioned this bank. Are they all kitted out with the channels that you've got where you want them to be kept involved? Are they all you know they've got what they
Not from an organisation provided um, channel, if you like. I think the ones that we are in touch with are ones where we have one another's numbers, we have one another's email addresses, and I said that the bulk of that is completed by our tenant involvement officers who were basically managed separately,
yeah
and they making a range of those channels work. Um, Ours is just telephone contact at this
yeah
moment in time.
yeah. Well, it's something to
So
go through.
I think a lot of what we do, we sort of provide that kind of framework. We provide the funding. We coordinate regular meeting so everyone sort of comes along and just sort of shares what's happening. And we provide the physical support where it's needed. For example, if a tenant involvement officer is working with the school doing a litter pick, they may say, "Can you spare someone to come along?" And we quite like to get out and about and
Mm,
get us gloves on and get the litter pickers out and whatever it is, we support that. So some of the projects that we were hoping would go ahead, I'm kind of not sure whether they will or not. We have a communities together forum which we service centrally. That's made up of a number of tenants groups, but also there are sort of community groups as well represented. So anyone who wants to sign up and be affiliated can sort of be a part of that. We were in process of helping them arrange a funding fair in September. We did that last year and it went quite well. And so we're really, really looking forward to this, but that's taken a bit of a
mm.
nosedive. Um, and it's just hard to see whether or not it's going to go ahead. So we're at the point where I think we're going to need to tear up what we're doing and look at 2021, and use the time we've got to have a good think about the things that we want to do. Some we can carry over, some just they just won't happen this year, sadly.
Mm. Also, it's a shame. Hopefully, this time to reflect and stuff will mean new and improved, you know, services for next year. Hopefully, it's good quality time that you've got rather than things just falling off.
Yeah, I think so. Yeah, I think there's definitely an element of that. I mean, I think just by the nature of the team, I mean, I also have employee engagement currently as well, and the nature of all three elements of the team as it stands are to plan, because a lot of the stuff we do is just cyclical. There
Mm,
may be a gala in one place at the same time every year. Our estates people may do an event on an estate. I mean, we cover like Children's Day on one of our estates, and that's really good for actually getting people out and engaging with a lot of our Eastern European community out there. And a lot of these things happen at a similar sort of time, so we can ensure that we're prepared and we can be a little bit imaginative about it too. And as you say, deliver something that we've had a chance to think out. We usually do have a good bit of thinking space, but we've got a little bit more now.
yeah. Well, thanks so much for your time, then, John. It's been a really great little first interview, and hopefully one of many more. So thank you very much. Thank you very much for joining me.
No trouble. Take care.